Let's create a budget. Let's get out of debt. Let's build wealth. Guys, welcome back to the channel. So far we're basically learned all about velocity banking, all the different emotions and basically strategies and things we have to do to get this strategy to work for us. And the last video we talked about bad debt. So I wanted to talk about one more thing with velocity banking, and that is good debt. So, when you hear velocity banking strategy, you kind of think, okay, that's something I would use to get out of debt. But velocity banking is really a double-edged sword. On one end, you're kind of going down and chopping all this bad debt, but you can also swipe up with it and use it for good debt. And using velocity banking for good debt is something I actually get really more excited about. When we're using velocity banking to eliminate debt, it's kind of a daunting process. It takes a while. You're getting out of debt, and it's not really the best state to be in because your money is just being thrown out the window and being put to good, to knock out debt. Now, velocity banking for good debt, this is something to get excited about. So once we have done all the hard work, we did what we were supposed to, we got out of debt, right? So now, naturally, the whole process on getting out of debt is not to just live life now. You need to keep working. Like, that was just the beginning. We go back to that runner. When he started off, he wanted just to go out there and run a mile. His shins was hurting, he was out of shape. He wasn't, probably feeling the best. But as he stuck with it and he kept running miles and miles and miles, he began to start to feel better. His body was starting to able to take more. He was able to work through all those problems. Well, now he's probably thinking, I could probably run a marathon. And it's the same thing with money and finances. It's a whole different life. If you're in debt right now, you're constantly paying bills. Like, your life, once that debt is done, if you stay stagnant, right, we're always talking about flow. If you don't do anything, then you just kind of stop moving. You're working, you're still spending all your money. It's just leaving every month. There's nothing else happening. So once you're out of debt, that's where your whole life, there's a whole different world out here that you probably never really experienced yet. So now you'll take that cash, right? You'll take that income and you're going to buy assets. It doesn't matter what the assets is. Assets, the very definition is anything that puts money in your pocket. Whereas before, you were buying, say, a car, right? That car is not producing anything for you. It's draining your account. Houses, that's not an asset. It's draining. The house itself could be an asset, but the loan is your liability. So it's not really producing anything for you. Now you're going to buy assets. It doesn't matter what that asset is. Anything that can put money back into your pocket. So, once you get into this new world, you're going to see that, the money that you're making, the income that you're making is probably, it's producing income. But once you start doing it, you'll be excited at first, but then it's all going to be all about, how can I do this better? How can I make this better? Right? And you're going to find you kind of run into the same problem as you did when you were trying to get out of debt, right? You'll start to understand that as you buy these assets, it's producing income, but you're going to start feeling like, man, it's taking too long. It's becoming slower, because you're going to be excited at first, because now, whereas all your money was being drained, you weren't doing anything. Now you're turned around, it's flipped, and now you're making $1. But then natural human instinct, it's natural for us to want the best and to want more. And, we'll get into this because you got to build a solid plan too around generating income, just as you did, when you were trying to get out of debt. It's a whole nother process, but it's kind of flipped. But the concept really doesn't change that much. So whereas you're firing these little incomes where we were trying to make debt explode, we're trying to make assets implode. We want to make it bigger. So we need to turn around and we can use that same weapon. We could just change the settings on it to where now we can fire that cannon at assets. So whereas we were shooting these little arrows, we're sending our little bit of income to buy these assets, we can take velocity banking and that whole strategy of charging that weapon, and we can just shoot a ton of cash into the assets. Those assets in return are going to produce income. And as you get more and more assets, those assets is going to generate income along with that income that you're making at your job or work. And now you're firing back at this line of credit. You're recharging this gun, this energy pulse gun, faster and faster. And that's the exciting part, man. Once you're out of debt and now you're into wealth building, you're creating wealth and creating more and more income by utilizing velocity banking and by buying these assets faster. It's going to produce income quicker, which is going to enhance your income. That combined with your income you already have from work, now all of a sudden you have two incomes, and it's going to start charging this faster and faster and faster. And then as you get this line of credit back up again and you fire it again and you buy another huge massive set of assets, it's going to create even more income. That every time it does that, it speeds the process up faster and faster. So now you went from getting out of debt to creating wealth, and almost, over time. And if you do this right and it's as efficient as possible, you can start to maybe even get to doubling your income, tripling income, and even 10 times your income. So to 10x your income, it's a great feeling. And now all of a sudden you're getting excited and you're wanting to tell other people about this, your family and your friends, and just understand that by training yourself, by creating a plan, by understanding the human emotions, and by preparing on what it's going to take to get here, by preparing your mind and knowing that you're going to have some obstacles and putting a plan in place for those obstacles and creating a solid plan to tackle everything that you can think of that arise. Is there something that can arise you can't think of? Well, of course, there's always that possibility. But even training your mind to understand that there may be other things to come will change the way you see things. The problem that a lot of people have, they can never get to this point, is because they just can't get that discipline to, it's hard to, especially if you feel beat down, you feel like you're not ever have any money left, you're always in a bad mood, you got to learn to push through that. We're all dealt a hand in life, and it just depends on what you were dealt and how it's not about getting knocked down. We all going to get knocked down at some point. It's all about getting back up. So it's all about that drive and that will to get back up. And the good thing about all of this is, as you do this and as you start to see your debt decrease, and you flip that and you start to invest in and you start buying assets and that starts generating income, that's all the fuel, that confirmation and seeing that things is going to start fueling it, and it's going to help you to get through these. I think it's always good to work with other professionals or other people that's doing something similar so that you can feed off of each other. But starting to understand this stuff, starting to realize it and starting to see it manifest and happen in your life is going to constantly push you towards wanting to do this more and more. Is velocity banking the only strategy out there? Of course not. But to find a tool, that you can use and it's all about enhancing. It's all about, again, time is our most precious commodity, right? It's something that we all are going to run out of one day. And to maximize and utilize that. And if you, just that very concept should help you to understand and feel and learn that if, you see this every now and then, you're driving on the highway, you'll have some car speed by you, right? and then all of a sudden they're at the red light and you're just at your constant speed, and now you're next to them again. So it's not about trying to rush and get somewhere. It's about understanding, and by understanding, it's going to calm your nerves. It's going to start to feel, I mean, if you have a negative attitude, that's something you really need to deal with. You need to deal with those emotions and attitudes. Like I said, we are all dealt a hand in life. You should never be comparing yourself to someone else. You know, the point at which they're at in their life, you should be happy for them. You need to work on you, your situation, your family, and where you're headed. You need to work on your plan. It doesn't matter. This isn't a race. It doesn't matter how you get there. It's the fact that you're living your most best life that you possibly can in the time that you're given. So guys, I hope you found value in this velocity banking, dissecting velocity banking. If you did, I would appreciate a thumbs up. You know, any questions you guys have, leave comments. You know, I'll try to address them as soon as I can. If you did found value, as always, I would appreciate a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next video.